Hello, I have the amazing Graham Bartlett with me. Hi, Graham. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, I'm not amazing. That's the first thing, but thanks for that. Yeah, so I'm Graham Bartlett. I'm the author of Bad for Good, which is a new novel out round about now, depending when this gets broadcast. Thursday the 23rd, it comes out. I am a former police officer and I advise crime writers, both authors and TV writers, on police procedure, creating police characters, authentic crime scenes, authentic crime investigations, that sort of stuff. How's that? Does that work all right?
Yeah,
Happy with that? Good.
you are awesome. And I imagine actually that most people in my group should know that your book's out. I've only been
I
counting
hope
down.
so because you've been wallpapering your various socials with it for the last month or so, which I'm very grateful for. And contrary to popular belief, I'm not paying you any money for it. Well, I don't know. You might send me an invoice, but
You just laugh at me and tell me to bugger off anyway. So I'm doing it for the love.
oh, it's very kind of you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So I know if people in my group don't know that your book's out, then where have they been, basically? But yeah, yeah, it's out on Thursday. So I've spoke to you before, but it was a long time ago, so I don't remember I asked you. I don't remember yesterday, to be quite honest. So if I ask you the questions again, I apologise in advance.
Right, no, I can't remember either, and I doubt if any of the viewers can remember either. And should we just say they are your budgies, not mine, that we can hear?
Yes, noisy little fuckers that don't shut up. Trouble is, if I shout at them, I scare the dog. So I will ask: did you always want to be a writer?
No, no, I never even thought of being a writer. You hear of so many writers, don't you? Say, oh, I used to go to bed with a torch and the famous five under the duvet, or I was always scribbling stories and writing. That's all I'd ever do. I was never like that at all. I had no notion of even being a writer until I left the police, which was sort of 9 years ago. So yeah, I'm definitely what you call a late starter.
And what happened when you left the police that made you think, oh, actually, perhaps I would like to write?
So I knew a chap called Peter James, who you might have heard of, and it was helping him with his procedure, and he came up with the idea of us writing a non-fiction book together, which he wanted to tell the true stories behind the Roy Grace novels. So he basically gave me an offer that I couldn't refuse. Would you like to write a book with me? So why, of course, never thought of it in my life, but yeah, okay, let's give it a go. So it's during the process of that, and the book it was eventually published as Death Comes Knocking. I got a real bug. I sort of caught the bug really, and I absolutely loved it. I loved just sitting there, even though it was non-fiction, so I wasn't making stuff up. I just loved getting things down, learning the craft, learning how to write kind of good prose, getting feedback, polishing. I look at it as like a sculpture, really. You kind of you've got a block of stone, and then you kind of knock a rough shape into it, and then you over the months you gradually polishing it down, and I absolutely loved it. And from then I just thought, well, I've got a second calling. I always thought of the police as being a calling, and seemed a second calling. So that was it. But yeah, I was kind of late 40s when that happened.
And then you wrote non-fiction. So then what gave you the push to write your first fiction book?
Well, during the process of writing Death Comes Knocking, I was kind of, because you kind of start getting into the world a little bit, and I was talking to Peter about his books and just sort of getting an interest. I just thought, God, it'd be lovely to make some stuff up for once, because with non-fiction you have to, all the research you have to do, and you can't kill people off if they annoy you, and all that sort of stuff. And then I just got this idea in my head. I was out on a dog walk. I got this idea in my head for a book, and I just thought, oh, there's something in that. And then the idea was, and it's kind of what has become Bad for Good after many rewrites, was what happens if policing is cut so badly that vigilantism takes over. Because I'd had a chat with the chap that had taken over from me in Brighton, and when I left as the divisional commander at Brighton, I moaned like mad to the bosses about the cuts and we can't do the job. You know, you keep taking money away and expecting so much more with less. It can't be done. And then he said to me, this is about 2 years after I'd retired. He said to me, "Do you know, I'd have bitten your hand off for what you were moaning about in those days." He said, it's got so much worse. And that's what got me thinking. And I thought, yeah, there's a story in this. And then I just kind of then, jotted ideas down. And then eventually, I'll tell you who it was, the first person I kind of voiced it to was William Shaw. So William and I, Phil Viner, PD Viner, and Susan Wilkins were doing an event in Brighton, and mine was kind of obviously around Death Comes Knocking, and we were at the pub afterwards, and he said it would be the thought of writing fiction. I said, well, I've got this idea, and I fleshed it out a little bit in my head, and I told him about it. He went, "Oh, you've got to write it. You've got to write it." So he is absolutely delighted now to see that it's out there, because he's been banging on to me for all that time about writing this blessed book, and now I've finally done it.
And it's a series. So when you had the idea for the first one, did you have the idea that you were going to write a series, or has that just kind of happened accidentally?
Yeah, no, that happened quite late on. I mean, I didn't, I didn't think it was ever going to get published. I didn't think that, I think I thought I'd be faffing around with it till the day they took me out in a box. But it was probably only about 2 years ago that I started to think of a second book, and because the themes of the book, both books, and I'm writing the third at the moment, are kind of policing, but within a huge and scary social context and political context. So, as I say, Bad for Good is all about the cuts, and how the public services policing are so decimated, but with crime in there. There's only a certain number of big issues that you can kind of make exciting around crime. So obviously book two is written. That's with my publishers at the moment. So just waiting for the copy edits to come back on that. Book three I'm halfway through, and book four I've got just a kind of glimmer of an idea about what book four might be about. But I'm only on a 2-book contract, so I might not get even a contract for the third book, but I'll still write it anyway, and the fourth.
Well, you're fine. Sergit wanted me to ask you when book two's out, I think.
Yeah, it's supposed to be early next year. I don't know the exact date yet, and I understand. Don't hold me to this. I understand it's going to be out around the same time as the paperback of Bad for Good. I think that's how they're doing it, but I've got no idea of dates yet.
And how did you?
Out from Amazon.
Yeah. Well, you'll be an old hack at it by then. You'll know exactly how this whole crazy publishing world works and stuff.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah.
And how did your book deal come about?
So I'd been working, I say, for a long time on the book, and I basically met my agent. So I'd had an agent for the non-fiction. So I managed to engineer a meeting with David Headley, who many people will know. He's the boss of DHH Literary Agency. He runs Capital Crime, and he runs Goldsborough Books. Fabulous man, just one of the nicest human beings in the world. I managed to engineer a meeting with him and kind of said, look, I'm between agents at the moment, and I just wondered whether you'd be interested in having a look at something that I've written. And he said, yeah, absolutely, yeah. We were just having a coffee, and he said, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And he came back to me within about 2 days. I mean, he's incredible. Well, you're a fast reader, but he's as fast as you. And he absolutely loved it. And then he kind of pushed it out to put it out on submission. He made one structural change. He wanted me to make one structural change, which was basically flipping 2 chapters around. And it made absolute sense. Put it out on submission, and that honestly, that is the most heart-destroying thing you can. When your book goes out on submission, you the rejections come in, and you just think, oh, this is just rubbish. It's rubbish. They hate it. And in fact, during that process, I spoke to Victoria Selman, because I'd worked with Victoria. I'd given her some advice, and she's one of David's clients as well. And I was talking to her about something completely different. She said, "Oh, how's it going?" And I said, "Oh, I think I should give up because I'm getting all these rejections." She said, "Right, stop." And she just said exactly what I've just said to you. The rejections come first. You're always going to get rejections. They will always come first because that's the kind of filtering system. And so the ones that you don't hear back from are the ones that are probably going through. And yeah, hey presto, in about 3-4 weeks later, Allison and Busby, a very long-standing independent publishers with a fabulous reputation, came in for it, and they've been absolutely amazing. So, and that was that was a combination of David and them working really well together, and I'm absolutely delighted to be with them.
Good stuff. And Victoria's lovely as well, isn't she?
She's incredible. Yeah.
I mean, your support network is going to be insane when it comes out on Thursday, because you advise so many writers, and obviously you've been to festivals and stuff. So it's going to be good. You're going to have quite a boost when it does actually come out on Thursday.
Do you know, it's such a lovely community, isn't it? It really is. I mean, we were talking a bit about this before we hit record, and they're just so supportive. And you just think, you are in competition with each other, with other writers, because you want everyone to buy your book, and not the next whoever, I won't say a name, but not the next whoever. But everybody is just wants everyone to do well. I've never known anything like it, and I'm just blessed really to be amongst such a friendly bunch of people.
Yeah, even Mike Craven, he looks like a miserable git. It's all right.
He's great, isn't he? I've never met him in the flesh. I think I'm not up for a dagger, but I'm going to the daggers next week, and I think he's going to be there because he'll be up for about 5 daggers. And it's the first time I'll have met him in the flesh, but yeah, he's a bit scary though. He looks scary, doesn't he? He looks a bit. It's
quite terrifying, yeah. He was taking a piss out of me when I saw him in Wigan. He said he was only going to speak to me when I had a sandwich in my mouth. I thought really? It was quite mean, yeah. I don't know what he thinks I'm going to... I don't know what everyone thinks I'm going to do. You won't let me sit in the front row at Harrogate. He wouldn't speak to me unless I was eating. Like, what do people think I'm going to do?
I literally can't have you in the front row at Harrogate because that's scary enough anyway. I'm doing this panel with people like Sue Black and Carla Valentine and, chaired by Simon Mayo. And to have you sat in the front row grinning up at me, that would just completely throw me. No, it's not happening.
It's very harsh. I'd be perfectly behaved.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll have a word with your chaperone if you're going to go there. I don't know who it is, but I'll have a word with them.
It's Sharon Rimbleswan. You had no chance. She's worse than I am. The pair of us together is...
It'll be the fire alarm then.
Unless you could get Hobeck to keep me under control, they're not too bad.
Yeah, could do actually. Yeah,
because Malcolm's only going on Thursday. I think Malcolm's usually quite a calming influence. So.
Oh, is he going Thursday? What, for Creative Thursday?
I think he's just going to meet up with people like me and Linda Checkley.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, good luck.
Yeah, no, it'd be good. Do you know what? I think we've said this on messages between each other. I'm going to have alcohol poisoning by the end of that day, because so many drinks. We'll have a drink. I just don't know where. I'm only there for 48 hours. I'm going home. The Sunday morning is my 30th wedding anniversary. I'm going to be so hungover on a train from Harrogate to Brighton, and then celebrate my 30th wedding anniversary.
I'd rather you than me. Yeah, that's an extra. Like, what's it from London to Brighton? A couple of hours, I think. That's a long train journey, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. It's about, I think it's 4 and 3/4 hours. But that's all right. I'll be all right.
Oh, really? I don't know. Actually, I haven't looked. Must be not that much more for me. Maybe 3.
We can't be. Let's not talk train times. That's boring for
Yeah,
people, isn't
this is
it?
very true. Yeah, I was just thinking that.
We get the 9:15 from Harrogate, change at York.
It's so annoying when I get the train. I have to go down into London to then go back up north.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's very annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
Hopefully
Let's not
they'll
talk.
stop striking by then anyway. That'd be a
And that's the
freaking
other thing
nightmare.
is that I've had so many events cancelled, or I've had two events cancelled because of the train strike this week. So let's not talk about trains.
Well, you're everywhere anyway, so can't get it. Last week I was being haunted by Mike Craven's face, and this week it's you. Yours is a much prettier face than his. His is
Thank you.
terrifying.
Thank you. It's another £10 I owe you. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, fabulous. Thank you very much. So, writing Bad for Good. Which character gave you the most trouble?
I'm not. The thing is, I don't want to give too much away, but Di Bob Heaton gave me the most trouble. I'm not going to give too much away on that, but Di Bob Heaton is not who you might assume when you meet him, but he's a fabulous character. Love him. Really hard to write that. Really hard to write that well and respectfully. And and also some of the things that he gets. I'm just having to choose my words really carefully. Some of the things that he gets involved in. I want the readers to still like him, so that was hard to make sure that still happened.
Cool, that's quite a balance, yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't make yourself an easy task for your first book, did you?
No, and I remember with him, I wanted this particular, I wanted to have something about him that wasn't clear first of all, and I remember again another dog walk. It's dog walks that do it for me. Another dog walk, and it just kind of thought, yeah, that's it. And then, as with anything, you kind of that's the bones of the idea, and then you kind of you work it, you throw it away from it, and then you bring it back, and then you kind of it could be this, that, and the other, and eventually, I think I managed to get what I want, get the effect that I wanted out of it.
Mine's making sandwiches at work for some reason. When I'm making sandwiches, I suddenly think, ooh, that would be good. I don't know why. Perhaps because I'm not.
When it's probably I mean, I would imagine making sandwiches. It's an activity where you can be a bit mindful, can't you? And you can literally, your brain can. You're not kind of, you're not being. It's not that complicated that you have to kind of concentrate. You're not like wiring a washing machine up or something like that. But you got to concentrate on what you're doing. But you can also think, and it kind of it allows you to focus your mind, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Walking, yeah.
And listening to you on the podcast while I was making sandwiches this morning.
That'll make you fall asleep.
I'm up at quarter to 5, so I'm falling asleep anyway. I've had 3 coffees by 10 o'clock.
You listening to me on a podcast this morning?
Yeah.
Which one?
I was listening to the one with Adam Croft.
Oh, the Partners in Crime one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he's great. He is. I thought I was only going on as a guest, but I seem to be a guest presenter now. I thought I was just going on to be interviewed, but because Robert Dawes isn't around at the moment, he's filming somewhere. I seem to now be the guest presenter.
Well, it's funny. I was listening to it this morning, and because they're quite short, I've listened to quite a few. And apparently, Robert Dawes is the other presenter, and I've not heard him once yet in all the ones I've listened to. Yeah. It's been you or Adrian, and then there was one with David Mark. So that's it. Yeah, which was amazing. Yeah.
No, Robert. Do you know Robert Dawes at all? He's.
I know of him because of Hobeck, because I'm friends with Hobeck, so I know. I'd love to interview him.
He's a very famous actor. He's very. If you, I recognise him from TV more than anything, but he's a great writer too. But a lovely fella, really, just heart of gold. But he's. I think he sat with a lot of people in his business. There, during COVID, there was nothing for them at all. So I think now they're just, they're making hay while the sun shines, and they're going out, doing their filming and making going out on the road and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think Adam's a famous alumni of my university.
Oh, is
One
he?
of the very few, like two, I think, that we've
Yeah.
got
'Cause that's what's
quality.
happened since we last spoke on one of these. Congratulations, because you got your degree, didn't you?
I did, yes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah, now I know all my forensics
Yeah. So
ish.
you'd be putting us out of a business soon.
Never,
Data
no
analysis.
chance. What was standing at Greg's making sandwiches. I think we're safe for a while. Um, so if you were able to take out one of your characters, who would you choose and what would you ask them? You're going to take them for a meal or a beer, I guess.
Oh God, it's so hard without spoiler alerting, isn't it? I think I would take out. I would take out Darren Howe for a beer. So Darren Howe is Joe Howe's husband. He's a journalist. He, when we first meet him, he's not in the country. He's away, and that causes some difficulties. And then stuff happens to him later on in the book. I would take him out, and because I would want to know. Bear in mind, Joe Howe does the job that I used to do. I would want to know from him what it's like to be married to somebody that's got that job, and and how selfish somebody like that can be doing that job, or certainly appear to be. Um, I'd also like to know why he thinks he's the one that always can go off out the country, and she has got a very very important job and is left struggling with childcare. I'd like to know that. That'd be after the fourth pint, that when I could like point my finger at him and go, "Tell you what, you need to sort out, mate. You need to sort out. You know, you're not good." Um, and the other thing I'd ask him is, does he think he knows all Joe's secrets?
Mm.
Because he doesn't. Doesn't know them, and he's been married to her for a long time. So, but then by the same token, I wonder what he'd ask me. So that might come back to bite me, mightn't it?
Little bit, yeah. Have you hidden any secret jokes or Easter eggs in your book?
Oh, Easter eggs. That's a Brian Price thing, isn't it? I know he did Easter eggs. Um, I've not. I don't think I've hidden any secret jokes. There's some bits of dialogue that I absolutely love in there. That I just, in fact, a friend of mine who's just retired as a senior investigating officer from the police, texted me yesterday because he's reading it. And there's a line in there. I'll say it because it's not a spoiler at all. So there's a line in there. So they've just had their first briefing after this murder, and Joe Howe says, "Right, everyone, take a selfie of yourself, send it to your loved ones to remind them what you look like, because no one's going home anytime soon to work." And then John, my mate, he texted me. He said, "I wish I'd read that before I retired." He said, "Because I'd love to have said that to um, but there's lots of, I mean, as you'd imagine, there's lots of realisms in there. I mean, when Joe is going to a body, the thing about, I mean, you've got your parrots in your room there, your budgies in your room there, and this thing that always used to strike me about how life is going on around. You're looking at the worst thing that could ever have happened to that person and their family, and you can hear buses going backwards and forwards. You can hear, kids playing in the playground, in the school down the road. You can hear all sorts, just life going on around you, and birds. So you've got these birds. They're chirping away. Life is, there's no, and you'll just realise that life should have stopped. And there's a point where I go, well, someone shut those bloody birds up when she's looking at the body. So yeah, there's all sorts of things like that. I suppose the Gary Hedges pretending to spit in Phil's coffee. That's another one. Of course, I make your coffee cappuccino. That's like, so there's so much police world in there, so much, and you'd expect it, because obviously I lived it for more than half my life. So yeah, and I loved writing some of that stuff.
Obviously, you advise other authors, but also you do your courses. So, was there any point when you were writing where you had to step back and take advice from your own courses and your writing?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely, because I always say on my courses, and you've done some of them, and you've helped out on an open day as well that we did to try and get the word out about the courses. So I'm really grateful for that. But I always talk about wearing your research lightly. You know, know as much as we're going to tell you, and really understand it. But when you're writing it, just top 2%, just the 2% of it, whatever makes your story, keeps your story going, keeps your characters going. Don't flood your book with research. And I had to I had to walk the walk there, because my first draft was 125,000 words, and that's 25% too long at least. So I had to strip out so much procedure and characters. So I remember somebody said to me, "Oh, you've got too many police characters in there." I said, "Well, don't be daft." I said, "That's how many people there are that you have on a murder investigation. You have all these roles." And she said, "Yeah, but the reader doesn't need to know all these roles. You don't have to have everyone kind of stepping onto stage at any one point. You can create the knowledge that there are a lot of people involved, but you don't have to kind of have them all coming on stage." And so I had to strip out a lot of people. I amalgamated some roles that wouldn't normally be amalgamated. So definitely had to do that. The other thing that I had to do, which wasn't really connected with the courses, is that I know what it's like to be a senior police officer in Brighton and Hove, and I know what it's like to get to rise through the ranks to get there as a man. I don't know what it's like as a woman to do that, and obviously, I've set myself a challenge by writing a female protagonist. So I spoke to a lot of former colleagues of mine who were senior, either serving still or had recently retired as well, to learn from them what life was like as they were going through. And one of them had children, a bit like Jo. The other one didn't have. Oh no, she had children quite late on. And they were so good. They spoke in quite a lot of detail, and I'd never share some of the things that they said, but some of the challenges that they faced, both externally and internally, were massive, and nothing like I got. A white kind of straight man, who's from this country and almost from the town where where I'm working. You don't realise how privileged you are until you hear how really good people have struggled 5, 6, 7, 10 times harder than I had to get what I got.
Did you have to do much research? Because obviously your career is going to have given you crazy amounts of information, but was there any research you had to do?
Yeah, quite a bit actually. I mean, obviously, talked about the getting the woman's perspective. I had to research a lot of locations. I knew them all, but they all needed to serve a purpose, and I needed to check that they served a purpose. Even though I was a firearms commander, being a firearms commander, you don't kind of know exactly all the weaponry and that sort of thing that police firearms officers have. So I needed to research that and sent that to a couple of people to read through, and I needed to research the private security industry as well, which was interesting because, and I say to the two companies, Select Security and Beacon Security, that I went to, I say that I found out what they did and made sure that my security company didn't do any of those things, because they're very good security companies and this lot are a bunch of rogues. So I tried to make it clear that I haven't, this isn't what Select or Beacon do. That this is what they don't do. So yeah, no, quite a lot of research, and of course a lot of learning about the writing process as well. I mean, as I say, this story was huge when I first wrote it. I had no idea about structure, arcs, how to kind of pitch an antagonist against a protagonist. All of that, I had no idea at all. Second book, I mean, I've done a lot of, I've done some courses and read an awful lot, and I've got a much better idea about it. But yeah, just creating the story was probably the hardest thing for me. actually the mechanics of the story as opposed to the theme of the story.
And that's what I love about doing your courses, because now that you've written yourself, you can say, I know exactly where you're coming from. I know the trouble you're having. And you never say no. You say, well, you could do this, or there's always a way around, which is awesome, and especially some of the more established crime writers I noticed, that are so set on their idea. You're like, well, it wouldn't happen, but,
Yeah,
and I think they really appreciate that.
and thank you. And what I try to do is put around, put some steps in before whatever it is they want to introduce, or put some dialogue in that kind of acknowledges the fact that it's an unusual set of circumstances, so that the knowledgeable reader can go, okay, yeah, you don't think this happens all the time. I'll give an example of that. So, as I do some television work as well. So I was working on a program called We Hunt Together, and at one point they wanted the superintendent to go on a raid of a farmhouse, and superintendents don't go anywhere near them. They're kind of controlling it all from elsewhere. So. And I said, well, the superintendent wouldn't go there. And I knew what they'd say. They go, well, she's a great character. She's a brilliant character, Susan, the superintendent. Um, yeah, we want her there. I went, oh, okay, all right. So I just thought about it, and I thought, well, you know, theoretically she can be there because she's the boss, and if she says I'm going to be there, who's going to tell her no? So and she's the sort of character that would do that, but just because she wanted to have a day out of the office. So I said to her, well, I said just get when she says she's going to go on the raid, just get the other characters, get the other actors, just to give each other a look as if to say, what, and then don't even have to have any dialogue, just a look would do, and then then just crack on, and that's what they did, and sometimes it's that and I think the difficulty with going to people, getting people to advise that don't write, is that they will tell you, very faithfully, very accurately, what policing is like. How to investigate a missing person, how to interview a reluctant suspect, how to put a set of handcuffs on. They'll tell you that, and it'll be right. But what they won't be able to do is, if you go, yeah, but I don't want that to happen. I want them to do that, and it's having that kind of that awareness of the narrative and the character imperatives that help me and the other people on my team, most of whom are crime writers, go, yeah, okay, all right, well, we'll do it this way then, but you need to put that in place first, and that we'll get them to say the other. That's the way to do it.
And the other thing about your courses is the people that you have helping you, just unbelievable. Some of the biggest names in crime writing, and and of the different disciplines, just incredible. Like, it's such a massive gift to the people that do them. And your black book must be quite insane. I was saying this to Mark Billingham, and he was like, yeah, but you must have quite a list of people that that you could call on.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I've got a lot of people, and from the I haven't shown I need to show the cover. I'm always told on this book here, which is my book, which I wrote because it's got my name on it. I'm very, very lucky to go to people like Peter James, Mark Billingham, Anthony Horowitz, Ellie Griffiths, and people that I've worked with and I regard as friends, to ask them to read through. And I'm under no illusion that a lot of people struggle to get quotes because they just don't know people, and that's I'm very lucky to know some of those people. I mean, I've worked with them, and I kind of Mark Billingham. I first met Mark Billingham. He was at an event in Brighton, and I was just chatting to him in Brighton. This was in 2018, and I said, I'm a police advisor, and we were chatting quite nicely, and then he kind of moved. He signed my book, moved on, and then I happened to be checking into the Swan Hotel at Harrogate with him. We were doing Creative Thursday, just behind him. And I thought, I need to engineer another conversation because you're a really good bloke to know. So I followed him into the lift. I was just mute. And I said, Mark, isn't it? I said, we met in Brighton. Do you remember? I'm the police advisor. Well, from that, we got Kate Bendelow, who's who you'll know is a soccer and a crime writer. We were doing this Creative Thursday. We got invited out with the Harrogate committee for dinner that night, and I was sat next to Mark Billingham, and we were chatting like old mates by the end. But just because I managed to sort of follow him into a lift, I just glad it wasn't a toilet. But
Yeah, someone
but now
accused me of
now
that
he's a
the
really
other day.
now he's a good friend now. Pardon?
Someone accused me of that the other day, accosting someone in a toilet. I'm like, no, I'm not that bad, Jesus. That might have been Mark, actually. I can't remember. Yeah. Oh, but he's lovely, isn't he? He's just.
Yeah.
He always
Oh no,
says
he
I
is.
take the piss out of him for being tired. Every
Sorry.
time I see him.
Oh,
Every
right. I'm
time I
not
see him, he's.
surprised. Not surprised. He's all over the place. I'm doing an event with him next Monday, and he's. I think he's. God knows, he's all over the place. Before that, he's like all over the country.
Yeah. Well, when I emailed him to ask him for another interview, it's like, oh yeah, it's fine, but I'm touring in Canada, so can we do it when I get back? So I'm like, well,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess, sure, it's fine. Totally normal to be touring in Canada.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing with a lot of these writers. Peter's the same. Ellie Griffiths, the same. They work incredibly hard. It's not just a case of the writing. It's so hard to. And I think the more successful you become, the harder it comes in a different way. I mean, obviously, getting contracts and stuff like that, and getting, profile, but you have to serve that profile. And you look at Ellie Griffiths; she's never out of a bookshop. She's always all over the place. And then you talk to her and say, oh, you must be really good at writing on the road. And she says, oh, I never write on the road. I wait till I get home. You go, what? You bring out 2 books a year and you're never at home. How do you manage that? But yeah, and they hats off to all of them. And I was in Goldsborough Books this morning in Brighton signing some stock for them. And I always do this when I go into a bookshop, particularly when I've, twice before when I've had a book out and feeling how hard it is for me. And then you look at, people like Val McDermott's books up there and you just think her life must be constantly just grafting, grafting, grafting.
Yeah. What was I just going to say to you? Oh, I'm trying to get Ellie Griffiths for an interview, and it's just impossible. It's just, but fun. Mark Billingham's so easy to tie down, and Ellie Griffiths we've been going back and forth for ages, a couple of months, I think, and still haven't managed to tie her down to a day. But I'll keep trying.
She's amazing, and she never says no to anybody either. So that's why she's so busy. But she, just hold on in there because you'll love it. You'll love her.
Yeah, I think she's great. I met her at Bloody Scotland, maybe, or somewhere. I've met her. I've got a signed book from her, and we share the same birthday.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, and Luca Veste has the same. He was born literally on the same day as me, which is really odd.
Yeah, because that means your birthday must be near mine then, because I'm 21st of August. What, yours must be in August, are you?
17th.
Yeah, yeah. I knew her birthday and my birthday are close together, but Luca's the same as he.
Yeah, we were literally born the same day. And when I told him, he said he was going to go ask his mum if he had another sibling. They didn't know about. Apparently, he's got quite a lot of siblings. I was like, okay.
Oh right, oh yeah. Another one, just to chuck another one into the mix.
Yeah. I know from having spoke to you before and hearing your podcast, you said that you found like having to decide what characters do and stuff and making them up difficult. But was there anything else moving from non-fiction to fiction that you found harder than you expected?
I think pacing was quite hard. Keeping the pace going and with non-fiction, you kind of almost have to. You do really have to show all the steps, particularly the type of non-fiction I'm writing, where one of them, Babes in the Wood, which is a kind of 32-year fight for justice. You can't kind of move from 1986 and then pop up again in 2018 and not explain how you got from there to there. I mean, that is the story really. But with fiction, what I found is that I was tempted to kind of just write all the steps in anyway. And getting very fixated on this show don't tell. So I just thought, I can't just kind of mention that that's happened and then move on. But it was actually Ellie Griffiths that said to me, sometimes you just got to tell. You just got to tell. Otherwise, you're literally showing every single step, and it's whilst it's all it might be very vivid. Then I've dragged the story down and up the word count. So I think the pacing was hard, and I took a lot of feedback on drafts on that. A lot about soggy middles and that sort of thing, and I since then, as I say, I did the John York story course, which really cemented for me 5 act structure, and the beats within each act, and where you take it and who's involved, and without applying it slavishly so that becomes formulaic. That really helped me with pacing, because I kind of knew I needed to up things here and then things near and up again, and and it really helped. I don't hopefully, and that's why I love this kind of second career, because I'm learning all the time. Every day's a school day.
Well, you absolutely nailed it. So, Jesus Christ, it's insane. Like, there's just so much going on, and it's just like, wow.
What was it when you first read it? You said you put something like "shit," and I said, I said, I'm going to get that put on the back of the book.
Yeah, I don't say that very often either. But it was all like, yeah. I know. Just I mean, obviously, I've been talking about it because I freaking loved it. So, yeah, you definitely nailed it.
Thank you. Well, I just need to keep going now, don't I?
Yeah. Well, whenever you want to send book 2 over, that's fine. Well, I have David Marks to read.
I definitely know who's getting proofs of the second book, because you can, anyone. Well, in fact, touch wood, they've all been very good reviews so far. So there's a lot of people that are going to get proofed. But if anyone upsets me, they'll get one.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Just threaten them.
Yeah, I would do. Yeah, just ghost them. Sorry, you're not seeing it.
Yeah.
In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you book 3 so you get all the spoilers.
It's very childish. When you were editing, what was your most overused word or phrase?
Oh, Jesus.
Really?
Jesus. Yeah. I've got I've got a list now. Mark Billingham told me to do this. They create a list of everyone was going, oh, Jesus, or Jesus, or Jesus, or killed the call. Killed the call was the other one. They killed the call. How many calls are these people going to kill? And, who's investigating the murder of these calls? They killed the call. Yeah. So everyone said Jesus and killed the call. But yeah, Mark said to me, because he went through an early draft, and I can't remember what it was he picked out. He said you should keep a list. He said, and every time you do a manuscript, he said you just do a word search on that list. Just go through that list, do a word search. He said, because you work. He said, I could tell you now. He said, but your next book it'll be full of the same word, because that's the word that comes to your mind.
Yeah, he was the same, and he's like, well, that's what I pay editors for. You've written 20 books, you must know by now. It's like, that's what I pay them for. Okay, then. Fair enough. Obviously, you've released a 2 non-fiction, and your fiction book isn't out till Thursday. But what's been the highlight in the whole journey so far?
I would say it's hard, because Death Comes Knocking, writing Death Comes Knocking with Peter, learning a craft with Peter has been amazing. Death Comes Knocking became a Sunday Times top 10 bestseller, number 7 for 1 week, but I'm having it. It's good. Babes in the Wood was very different. It was quite a somber. I prefer Babes in the Wood. I'm happier with the writing in Babes in the Wood, but it's not a book to celebrate. It's a very, very sad and brutal story. I don't tell it salaciously, but it is. There's no escaping from it. 2 little girls got killed or were murdered. I think probably where we are now, to be honest. I think having a novel that I am delighted with, that I've written, coming out, and people talking about it is just amazing. And I was asked at an event I did last week, um, whether I would want to write, whether I would want a million to sell a million books, of a book, of a book that was okay, or one book of an absolute masterpiece. And I said one book of a masterpiece. I'm so pleased with the response to Bad for Good already, and I am delighted with, you know the the way that hard work's paid off. I'm delighted with the book. I think I don't think I could have written a better book. And I think if you get to that point and you can say, there it is, it's got a proper cover, oh look, this one's got Bad for Good like that. Got that on there, and people are loving it. That means the world to me. Whether it becomes a bestseller, whether whatever its future, it's a book that I'm really proud of. I mean, let's say for today, I was in a bookshop in Brighton, in Goldsmith Books in Brighton, and it's there on the shelves. That's just amazing. But that doesn't kind of decry the other highs, because it's a fabulous journey I've been on.
Well, I already told you I'm calling it for award season next year, so.
We'll see. We'll see.
And you've got a busy summer coming up, so where can we? Obviously, you're going to be on a panel at Harrogate, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I did a panel at Harrogate on the Saturday afternoon, at 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, I think it is. Doing capital crime in September. I'm not sure what I'm doing there, even though capital crime is run by my agent. He's not told everyone what they're doing yet, and I've got, and I can't say what it is. I've got an idea what it might be, and it sounds a lot of fun, but I don't think I'm supposed to know. I've got I'm at Brighton on Monday the 27th with Mark Billingham and Tim Weaver. I'm in Stenning, which is a village just outside sort of Brighton, with Leslie Thompson on the 7th. Stenning Bookshops was Bookshop of the Month, the Booksellers Bookshop of the Month recently. They put on really good events, so we're doing that. What else am I doing? UK Crime Book Club this Thursday. Doing that with Mark Edwards. That should be good. Yeah. So I can't. What other live events am I doing? I can't think what other live events I'm doing. There must be some other ones in there, but I can't think what they are.
Does your wife recognise you when you walk in the house?
I don't think she's 30 years. I don't think she's that bothered, really. No, she is. She is. No,
You're too cute. You're obviously so in love with her still when you went away. So there's no way. I saw your message.
Hey?
I saw your message when you went to South America or something.
Oh, it's Turks and Caicos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're very lucky. I'm very lucky. She's put up with me. She's tolerated me.
I know. I feel sorry for her more than anyone, because she was a police widow and now she's an author widow, and I feel sorry for the author widows, because authors are weird.
Yeah.
As a rule, and to be married and to just bless them.
Yeah, police officers are weird as well, though, so she's quite used to weird.
Good job, really, isn't it? I suppose if she's stuck it out for so long, then she's all right. She's used.
Kind of weird, yeah.
Although you've spent time with so many authors, if there was any author, dead or alive, you could spend a day with, who would you like to spend the day with?
Wilbur Smith. Wilbur Smith has got me into, well, didn't get me into, got me into reading. Wilbur Smith got me into reading, and I would just love to just listen to his stories, because I don't know if you read any of his books with Wilbur, but he's, I mean, they're all based in Africa. Or most of them are based in Africa, not all of them. Based in Africa, some of them, from the kind of 1600s, some of them sort of more up to date, and just the imagery he paints of the people, the customs, traditions, the landscapes, the wildlife, and everything is just amazing. And I'd love to know, bearing in mind that we don't write everything that we know down on paper, I'd love to hear some more stories. about that. In fact, David, my agent, has actually had dinner with him in the Seychelles because his business partner's from the Seychelles, and they ended up having dinner with Wilbur Smith. He said it was just incredible. Yeah.
Nice. One of my favourite questions I love asking authors, which could be particularly interesting for an ex-police officer, is if you were to be a fictional killer, how would you kill your victims?
I'd get you to do it. I think.
Okay.
How would I kill them? I don't know how I'd kill them. I'd kill them in as kind of natural way as possible. So I'd probably try and hasten a heart attack or something like that. So it looks like it's something benign. So no injuries, no poisons that are going to stay in the system. Nothing that's going to really kind of stand out as being odd. But if I was going to bury, do you want to know how I bury a body? How I get rid of a body? Because that's the one I've thought about this one, only for fictional purposes. So I'd have to get someone to dig it because I'm not good at digging. Dig a big hole. If the animals might get hurt in this story, but they're not really. So dig a big hole in a wood or something like that. Bury the body. Half fill the hole with earth. Then put a reasonably large dead animal in there as well, and then cover that so it's just covered with earth as well. And then when I'm not sure whether this will actually work, but when the cadaver dogs come over and it's like they start going mental, they'll find the deer or whatever it is you've put in there and go, oh no, it's just a deer, and move on. Dig deeper, dig deeper. I don't know if that worked. Probably loads of people are going to write in and say that's rubbish. It wouldn't work like that. But it's the only way I can think of it.
Yeah, I don't know if I should admit this, but when Malcolm Hollandrake interviewed me, he asked me, and I said I'd stab someone 100 times.
Would you? Yeah, this comes up with you quite a lot, especially as in a job where you've got knives around you all the time. I do worry about that. I don't think you're going to get away with that if you stab someone 100 times.
To be fair, that's one specific person I have in mind. But then some of my customers are very challenging, and we have bread knives that are like that long and they're serrated. So
yeah,
but they're downstairs, and I can't be asked. Downstairs is far.
Isn't it?
Yeah, but we do have scissors and tongs upstairs. So yeah, it's fine.
You say 100 times. Are you going to count yourself? Are you going to get someone else? Because I'd lose count. I'd have to. 77 or 78 was that? Oh, I can't remember.
That's a good point. Actually, I didn't think of that. Apparently, it means I need therapy as well.
Well, I think I don't think there's any question about that at all.
I'm very placid normally. Very placid. The guy that I would have stabbed 100 times is the reason that I've written a book, and he comes to a very nasty. Yeah, he comes to a very nasty end. Yeah. If I can't actually stab him, then I will do it in fiction, and I would enjoy every second of it.
Oh, really? Does he know or not?
No, he's got the real first name.
Oh, right.
But obviously not the surname. Yeah, anyway. And if you were fictionally killed, who would you like to solve your case?
Who would I like to solve? Any character that Nicola Walker's playing.
Good call.
Because she'd have a laugh while she was doing it, and that's how I want people to have a laugh. I don't want people to be too miserable about solving murder.
Yeah, she's very cool as well.
Yeah.
Well, I can't think of any more questions for you at the moment. I shall wait for.
Save them up for that front row at Harrogate.
Yeah, or for book 2, or both actually.
Yeah.
So before we go, would you just like to show your book off again? Remind everyone where they can get it from.
Yeah, there we go. So you can get that on. You get that at Goldsborough Books, Waterstones, Amazon, I think, and of course independent bookshops, of which Goldsborough is one. Bookshop, Independent Bookshop Week this week. So you can get it through bookshop.org as well, which is, people probably know, is a website which supports independent bookshops. So, yeah.
And if people would like to find more about you or interested in your courses, where can they
They
find
go
all of that?
to www.policeadvisor with an OR, because there's two ways of spelling advisor, .co.uk. And you'll see about my books, my courses, some Bartlett's bloopers on there, which are the things that people get wrong. And you can sign up to my newsletter and send me messages and all the things you can normally do on a website.
Yes, absolutely. And as someone that's read your book, it's amazing. People should buy it. As someone that's done your courses, they're amazing. People should do them.
Fabulous. Thank
So,
you very much, and thanks for all your support. Honestly, I've been so grateful to you. Thank you.
and thank you. Thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise, thank you.